Hi, and welcome back to Pigeon 101. I'm going to start by apologizing for the mess because my hands shake, I'm disabled, and I knocked over a whole bunch of stuff trying to set up for this video. So, kind of bear with me. And yes, you're getting this huge shadow of mine, I'm sorry. Basically, we're going to be talking about some minerals. And, of course, I left one of the things inside, so I'll have to stop this video and go get it in a minute. One of the things we talk about is food, and I'm going to be blunt. I've got to agree with Frank McLaughlin, who I mostly agree with, that you can feed them a wide range of stuff. Obviously, the best food is the best food, but you can feed them cheap food as long as you feed them expensive minerals. The good minerals. Actually, you can save money on them, but they got to be the good stuff. What I feed, you can get away with a lot less. Right now, I'm feeding, this is Lizzie May. It happens to be what's available right here. I have also fed Pure Grain, love it. I have fed Browns, great. I have fed a custom blend that one of the neighboring clubs has, great. I honestly think any blend that's actually made by a reputable company for pigeons is probably great. The little bowl behind there in the pink, that's barley. I get that from a local feed store. And don't buy it from anybody else. Go to a feed store. Look for the word feed store, someplace that sells for things like cattle. If you live out in the countryside, it'll be easy to find somewhere else, but if you live somewhere else, you'll go out to the suburbs, the deep suburbs, or the agricultural area, you'll find it. Don't pay for shipping, because 50 pounds of shipping grain is absurd. This is corn. I normally get my corn at Tractor Supply. They have it especially cheap for deer season, but they have it year-round. And I have found that while some of the better blends do come with corn, I can very often get more of the good quality seed if I get it without corn and add my own corn. It's just cheaper that way. However, if you are buying the stuff that has small yellow corn or popcorn in it, you don't need to add corn. Over here, this is actually rabbit pellets. These are primarily alfalfa. And then this is chicken layer pellets. And I do not, this is one of the areas where I kind of agree and kind of disagree with Frank. I know, heresy. He demonstrated the fact that over winter especially, you could pretty much keep a lot of pigeons for a lot cheaper on a combination of chicken laying pellets from Tractor Supply and corn from Tractor Supply. And yes, it works, and yes, it's a lot cheaper. However, this hang on a second, if I did this right, I stopped pausing it. Bear in mind, I'm new at this. So this is the pellet I'm using. I like it a little bit better than I like the plain laying pellets because it has much more in the way of probiotics, and it also has essential oil from oregano. And for those people who are more experienced with pigeon, oregano oil is something that is added to the diet of most racing pigeons because it's really good for them. So this is a pellet that has oregano oil and probiotics and all sorts of other stuff. It's a little bit better and unfortunately a little more expensive than the basic Tractor Supply laying pellets. I choose to go with this one. That is a choice. And if my budget was really screamingly tight, I would go right back to laying pellets. This is not something that you want to give them as their primary food during breeding season, or rather during raising chicks season. I think you should go talk to Frank or see his videos for explanation of that. But I do add pellets into the diet in small portions. just to make sure they always have some good food in there. It's not their preference. They prefer the seeds. And that's what I want them to eat most of, is the seeds. They don't like the barley. They will leave that until the last. They will stuff themselves full of corn if they can. But I put in some of the rabbit pellets, the alfalfa base, and the laying pellets, in this case, the neutralized flock shield, as an additional to make sure that there's always food left in the bottom of their feeder, and also to make sure that there's something with all the vitamins and minerals. I like to give them a variety, because in the wild, no animal is going to eat just one thing for the whole season. So while my base is always some kind of a pigeon food, I'm going to change what I mix. I don't always add the rabbit pellets, and when I do, I keep them in small quantity, or their droppings will get really loose and messy. But it's a way of adding greenery. They'll eat some of it. I don't put a huge amount of pellets in. I don't even put them in every day. But I always make sure that there's food available, and usually some pellets available. I change my admixture daily in order to make sure that they always have something to eat in addition to the base seed. And most of the time they just want the base seed, but they will eat the other stuff. And I figure if they need it, they need it. Hold on another minute. Okay, we're going to go on to talking about minerals. Over here, I got to agree with Frank again. This is the Versalaga Columbine Grit Mixture. It's an all-in-one. If I could only have one thing, that's what I would have. It is always available to my pigeons. That is, as you can hopefully see, sorry about the focus, a little bit of everything in there. What you have next to it here is actually, again, from Tractor Supply. I buy a big bag of it. That's the calcium. It's basically oyster shell calcium grit. The pigeons will eat it like it's going out of style when they need it, and otherwise they'll leave it. Again, I make sure that that's usually around, and I will put in a whole dish full of it every now and then. If they show interest, I'll make sure it stays in there for a while. This is the red pigeon grit, and also minerals. This was the first grit I got, and it does pretty well. I like the Versalaga better, but I always make sure that they have a choice, and this one is completely dusted with red minerals. So these are the 3 base minerals that I give them. I also occasionally give them some of the salt lick like they sell for cattle or for deer, ground up. They don't take much of it, but when they want it, they want it. Up here, incidentally, this is not a food. This is a holder for my banding rings, and as I call it, that is an abacus to calculate how much money I have spent on my pigeons. But anyway, now this is the mineral that I would not do without, ever. I put it on their food about every other day. I give them sometimes just a bowl full of it. Literally, I'll put it in one of these little dishes and let them pick it up, and they will. That has to be purchased either mail order or from one of the pigeon specialty places. This, on the other hand, is in the horse aisle at Tractor Supply. It was recommended to me by one of the local pigeon fanciers, and it's a probiotic and prebiotic. It's good for multiple critters, everything. It basically does well. I put it on the food. You could put it in the water. I think it increases the likelihood of growing algae and stuff in the water, so I just put it in the food. That is something that's very familiar to any pigeon fancier. That's red cell. It is also in the horse aisle. I will put it in their food. I know other people put it in their water. You don't want to overdo it, so I don't do it every day. Generally twice a week, maybe. Once a week, definitely. Warning, it is a strong smell. I like the smell, but it is a strong smell. And also, it will stay on your hands. You trying to mix everything. If you mix it with your hands, which is the way I mix everything, it will stay there. And you will be scrubbing and you will still smell it, just so you know. This is something I picked up at the show from Foy's. And it's cod liver oil. And forgive me, I spill things because my hands shake. So I will add that to their food and then use that to make sure this other two stings, these powders, because these two are powders, stick to the food. So I will add that, or I will add some avocado oil, which I didn't bring out, but I have it, to the food every now and then. Toss the food lightly like I'm coating a salad, and then I will be able to add the probiotic and the minerals and have it stick to the food. Just so you know, if I'm mixing up the food and I'm going to add pellets or alfalfa, as I said, I don't do that every day, I will put the mineral, the red cell, the liquid, or the oils on the seeds before I mix anything else, and mix that up so that I'm not getting all of the added nutrient stuff on the pellets that the pigeons don't like as much anyway. I want them to eat the nutrients. If I'm adding minerals, if I'm adding oils, I want them to get it. So it primarily goes on the seed mix. I will even mix that stuff up sometimes before I add the barley, if I remember. And then put the powder on it. So the powder gets on the most desired part of the food. And that is the pellet, not the pellets, it's the seed mix, the pigeon mix. The only other thing I will point out as far as all of this stuff, I didn't start with all of it. I started with a pigeon mix and some grit. As a matter of fact, I started with the red grit. Then I got a better pigeon mix and the Versalaga grit. Then I started adding the calcium grit. And then I finally found the local feed supply and I added the barley. The original pigeon mix I was feeding came with corn, so I didn't buy corn separately. Then I watched Frank's video on feeding cheaply for the winter, not the breeding season, the winter, when they're just hanging around. And it was about the laying pellets and the corn. And I ran out to do that because, oh boy, pigeon food adds up. Eat like a bird. Yeah, that will cost you, actually. And then somebody else, and I don't remember who, honestly, it could have been any number of people, and I'll be putting some links down below once I finish editing, suggested the rabbit pellet as a way of getting some fresh vegetables, or at least greenery, into their diet. And I will add a little bit of that. Again, don't add too much. Their droppings will get really icky. And it doesn't mean they're sick. It's just from a lot of alfalfa. I didn't have most of this stuff initially. I got the things that were available from Tractor Supply first, and then I went to a show where obviously there was a pigeon group there. It was Foy's, I believe. And if I am wrong, I will correct that in editing, but I bought those from them. I also bought a whole lot of other things, including my pigeon cost abacus, otherwise known as my band holder. I will tell you, you see all these grits? Not only is seed heavy, but grit is heavy. And the vitaminerals and things like that, they're bulky. They're not actually heavy, it's a fluffy powder, but they're bulky. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have pre-ordered for the show. I would have stocked up every single time I saw a shipping sale, like, oh, free shipping today only or something. Let me tell you, trying to ship a decent amount of grit hurts. So if you get a chance to get it in person, if you get a chance to stock up without having to pay a lot of shipping, you really want to do that. Grit won't go bad as long as you keep it covered from all the dust. And that brings us to the last thing on the Pigeon 101 for today. I was mostly talking about food and minerals. And see the white powder that is all over this? If you have ever kept parrots, then you know that cockatoos and cockatiels are dusty, dusty birds. Well, they got nothing on pigeons. Pigeons are very dusty birds. This is one of the reasons why pigeons put you at high risk of pigeon fancier's lung, pigeon keeper's lung. It's the same problem that cockatoo and cockatiel keepers have, namely that their feather dander is prolific. It's a white powder. It gets everywhere. And it's not really great to breathe. It's not great to breathe any dust, really. I mean, it doesn't matter what the dust is. But in this case, it's a very thick white dust that gets everywhere. So you want to make sure that all of your foods and all of your grits and all of your containers are closed at all times, or they're going to be completely coated in pigeon dust. And you would think that the pigeons don't care, but they do. If your grit and your food and everything else is too covered in dust, I think the pigeons assume it's stale. So you want to close that all up, make sure it doesn't get covered in pigeon dust. And you also want to take care of your lungs. If you're getting a lot of dust in one area, that means there's not enough air movement, not enough ventilation, or not enough cleaning. And on top of that, you want to absolutely positively, when you're cleaning anything, especially if you're sweeping up or you're using a blower, which a lot of people do, to blow all the dust out, you want to make absolutely certain that you are wearing a really, really good face mask. I recommend one that they would use for painters or chemical spraying. You want to keep that stuff out of your lungs. And I can tell you that the fan that I have in my loft is so coated in white dust that I have to take it outside on a regular basis. This is a fan. You'd think with it blowing it would be gone. I have to take it outside and clean it off on a regular basis. Pigeons create a lot of white dust. Do not get pigeon fancier's lung. The only ways to avoid it is to have your loft open completely on at least one side, preferably two. And that can be difficult for some of us. Or to regularly clean out your loft and wear a face mask. Anyway, that is quite a bit of discussion about food. I'll do my best to take any questions in the comment section, but please bear with me. As I said, I am absolutely new at all of this uploading to YouTube, so here is about the ratio I use of that, actually. And then I would add, not every day, I would add some pellets. And that would be that. Have a great day.